Hello there, Hippie Hope for Yang joining you again. I apologize for it being late Saturday when I'm filming, so it's not going to be aired until Sunday. But I have finally, I compiled notes from the Democratic debate on the 20th, as perhaps a couple of you may have noticed on my YouTube channel. And I'm actually pretty impressed with myself on the quality of notes I was able to take during the November 20th debate. I expected major distraction from my 4-year-old, but this time I was able to distract him with a backup phone and the YouTube Kids app. And I was able to, interact as needed. So unfortunately my video is, my question and answer is rather interrupted. But what I did was I summarized what was said in the debate, and I yanged up the answers afterward. Basically said what, we could guess Andrew Yang would have, how he would have answered all of these many questions. Even though he was only directed, a couple or three were pointed towards him. So that's, of course a disappointment, but not surprising. But we, as the Yang Gang, will continue to cover Andrew Yang's presidential campaign on our own if the mainstream media continues to so resolutely refuse to. It's sort of laughable, but it is such an insult. It's important to keep laughing at the slights, though. So, we don't lash out in anger and say things that we would regret on Twitter. Trump. So, please, I hope you enjoy my summary of the Democratic debate and how Andrew Yang would have answered the many questions that were asked, because we all know that he has much better answers than what many of the candidates said. And, and I, of course, I don't give myself a time limit to answer questions. I can't function that way. So let's continue on here. And also my thanks and hippie eclectic love to all who watched this and my other videos on YouTube. And also thanks to those of you who hit the like and subscribe buttons and visit my online shops. These endeavors and any others that I can think to take on will help my son, our companion cat, and me make our way out of the welfare trap that we've been stuck on and into a prosperous future in Yangtopia. So, trying my very hardest to be productive. I hate receiving handouts. I'd much rather, as Bernie Sanders even says, work for, my keep. But, a federally guaranteed job would be absolutely disastrous to someone like myself and so many other disabled people and others who face discrimination in society. So, Andrew Yang provides a much better solution. All right, moving forward. The first 4 questions were asking that I was able to catch anyway. Were asking about Trump's impeachment hearing, specifically if there was a quid pro quo involving Trump and President Zelensky, and how important it is to impeach Trump. And all of the Democrats who were asked about impeachment rallied on about how Trump is inexcusable, which is, of course we agree with that. He's a rampant criminal. Trump has threatened the Ukraine to withhold financial aid, if they don't do his dirty work of researching Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Trump diverted veteran aid funds, which is disgusting. He abandoned the Kurds to, a terrible fate. Trump has alienated us from all of our remaining allies. I could go on, and they certainly did all through the debate. And, all that was said are statements that most of us completely agree on. But nobody asked, of course, the smartest kid in class, Andrew Yang. We in the Yang Gang all know that Andrew Yang's stance on the... I can't even stick to my own script. I write a nice, detailed organized report, and I can't even. Anyway, I apologize. As important as it is to remove Donald Trump from office because of what a scumbucket he is, this is not the time in 2019. We should have had these impeachment hearings 2 or 3 years ago. Doing all this now will only damage the Democratic Party. Presidential candidates who are sitting in Congress will be taken away from their campaign runs if they need to perform the impeachment vote. It will also divert important effort away from how we solve the problems existing in our nation. Removing Trump will not make everything all better. But that's why Andrew Yang has provided a treasure trove of policy proposals at yang2020.com/policies. We can, look at everything he's thinking and planning to do whenever we want. He's not hiding anything. This is not your standard politician. Andrew Yang's here to help Americans because he's an American, not because he thinks he can get more powerful by becoming POTUS. He's, one of the very few who that's at the bottom of his list. He's said it many, many times. It's super clear that Andrew Yang's focus is on moving us, as he says, not left, not right, but forward. Moving on from Trump for a little while, the moderators asked Joe Biden how Republican investors into the Trump campaign can eventually become allies with the Biden family. And now, asking Joe anything during the debate is a head-thud experience for me. Mr. Biden swears up and down that we can take President Obama's policies even further to make the people of the United States work together. It's always about, I can get people to work together. I can get people to work together by using Obama's policies and taking them further. He just chants that all throughout. Anyway. But, he thinks that he's the one who can build a better future almost seemingly automatically, with just going further than Barack Obama was allowed to, and inspiring everyone magically to work together, kumbaya. I wish that's how we did things. But it's just not going to be that easy. It's going to take a lot more than just furthering President Obama's agenda to make Americans, be peaceful and start cooperating. We need to stop all the backbiting first, neighbors attacking neighbors, family attacking our own families. That's what we need to stop. And, that's, again, why Andrew Yang has supporters and investors from all walks of life. From myself, who's dirt as poor, to, another Yang gang who are, of course, even worse off than we are, all the way up to Elon Musk. Andrew Yang's the one who can magically make everyone work together, as laughable as Joe Biden's constant promises for that are. It will be possible under, Andrew Yang's leadership without all of the establishment politics that have gotten us into this mess we're in. And moving on, the moderators asked Kamala Harris if she had any comments on Joe Biden's statement about working together and kumbaya-ing it all up. She was still hung up on Trump's impeachment and went on about how the testimony points to corruption in Trump's White House, and the U.S. is stacking the very few powerful people against everyone else, and we need justice for all. That sounds great. It's a heartwarming answer, but it had nothing to do with Joe Biden, Republican investors, or magically making enemies work together somehow. I mean, answer the question, not the question you wanted to answer 5 minutes ago, but the question that you're faced with. This is your chance to get your opinion out in a related to the question manner. Seriously, do politicians have dodgeball tournaments? They are masters at dodging any question that's thrown at them. And I guess if you could dodge a question, you could dodge a ball. But, that's what, again and again and again, what makes Andrew Yang so different. He can take major leverage away from the corruption by instituting democracy dollars. And he can do great things for balancing the rich and poor and creating justice for all with the freedom dividend, Medicare for all, the assistance for single parents, children, veterans, instituting the American Malls Act, and the other 160 policies, again, available at yang2020.com, excuse me, yang2020.com/policies. So, this is, go and read, here's what the guy wants to do for us, very open, very honest, and he's an absolute breath of fresh air to all of us. So, take in the oxygen, get there, read. So, anyways, after the question dodging, the moderators fired some anger bait at Elizabeth Warren, which is another thing they did so often. Most of these questions just seem to be anger bait more than, how are we going to solve this? It's like, oh, what do you think about this thing that angers us all? Go away. But anyway, they fired some anger bait at Elizabeth Warren, asking her if division in the Democratic Party is good or bad. Here we go. Warren swore to end the division in the Democratic Party and in the U.S. by implementing her laughable wealth tax of pennies on the billions of dollars. This is going to be a head-thud debate. I was not happy to be here when we got to this point. Please refer to yang2020.com/policies. Andrew Yang is bringing people from all groups together. Division, especially to this magnitude where families are fighting and neighbors are fighting and neighborhoods are at war with each other, and there's so much controversy over everything. This situation is terrible. Having diverse opinions and methods is great, otherwise, see the book The Giver. You seriously, I don't remember who wrote it, but we read it in 5th grade, and of course that has no bearing on anyone, but it's a fantastic book about how over-establishmentarianism is a terrible idea to take away our ability to choose and understand the options out there and make our own decisions, and just awareness and forced job. Everybody gets assigned jobs, which sounds kind of like Bernie Sanders. But anyways, read The Giver. It has, it's very important to have diverse opinions and methods. We have to be able to disagree from time to time. However, this is how people develop and learn. You need to have a new opinion before you can be aware that something other than your opinion exists. That's the start of all learning, is learning that there's other data out there. Excuse me, back's twanging, I gotta readjust myself, but anywho's. But we've descended in as a nation. We're a war amongst the parties, we're a war amongst the neighborhoods, we're at war with everyone, and this is destructive to everyone, and it needs to stop. That's why Andrew Yang's bringing us all together. He's trying so hard to build a new tomorrow for everyone, so we can stop this level of division. Let us grow as individuals with the freedom dividend and Medicare for all, and all the help for veterans and single parents, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't go to auctioneer school. I can't ramble on so quick. But there's a limitless treasure trove of amazing new ideas that Andrew Yang has taken so much time to research and develop. So, just such a better answer than what everybody else is bringing to the table. So, moving forward and in a new direction, well, sort of in the same direction, And this is another thing that the moderators kept asking all the candidates what they thought of the other person's opinion. It's like they didn't plan ahead for other diverse questions. They asked Cory Booker if he agreed with Elizabeth Warren on her pennies on the billions tax. Um, I officially want to hang out and grill some steaks with Cory Booker after this, after this election. He completely grilled some Democrats throughout the evening, and like, well done. This guy like just cooked. He's oh man, funny, informative, determined to work. I have a lot of newfound respect for Cory Booker after this debate. He answers the question by saying that the wealth tax is an absolutely terrible idea. We need to institute real solutions. But then he proposes just taxation, which will be decided state by state. And it sounds, really amazing and revolutionary, and it sounds like what we need because, we can't agnificate the nation's tax code for the city and the country, rural areas, and it's just we need to be able to custom tailor our tax plans, but the state by state decisions is also a good way for the swamp to get even murkier. The the leading parties in our state, people, not government parties, but the people themselves can make decisions on where the money we earn goes. They can take it from whomever and deliver it to wherever, and that is a disastrous, potentially disastrous idea. It sounds good, but there needs to be a lot of checks and balances in place, and I'm not sure about what all his details are. So. But I'm a little scared of this, giving too much power to the state government to dictate all our taxes. On the other hand, of course, we know that the value-added tax that Andrew Yang is trying to put forth is a lot more fair for everyone. We get taxed for buying Google games, not diapers for our children. The fluff and the fun stuff gets taxed more than the necessities. I'm pretty sure the value-added tax will be in addition to sales tax. But I'm pretty sure, but I'm not absolutely, definite on it. So please correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm misinforming, please correct me. But anyhow, I'm glad to see again that Cory Booker is focusing on the American people having the right to make decisions. By breaking our tax codes down to the state level instead of the federal level, he's bringing the decisions closer to the people. So, there's a lot to appreciate in that. This is, it's very important. But, with the freedom dividend, Medicare for all, and everything else, of course, the American people will definitely have more power to self-govern and meet our own needs without federal control over our lives or state control over our lives. But the debate stage after this dissolved into Booker and Warren squabbling over the wealth tax versus just taxation. But, anyone who wants a real viable solution, of course, you go to yang2020.com/policies. There's a search bar and categories all broken down. It's a very nice database. If he runs the White House like he runs his website, or he has his moderators run his website, this is going to be an amazing 4 to 8 years with Andrew Yang. We gotta get with it, guys. Stay on the Yang train. Oh, but speaking of train, the mods rerouted this train wreck. I wasn't planning that, by the way. I was just anyhow. But they asked Buttigieg, I can't pronounce his name. I'm gonna try again. Buttigieg. how he would end the bipartisan fighting. Mayor Pete said that we're living in a different world than the one we were in 12 years ago, and that we should use the Democrat majority to our advantage. He then took a stab at Medicare for All and suggested his Medicare If You Want plan. I, for one, who couldn't exist in a world with purely private insurance, I had the same prosthesis from 2001 until 2014, and they're only supposed to last 2 years, so that's what your private health care gets someone like me. So no, please, let's not do the Medicare If You Want It plan, because that's more of a Medicare If You Can Afford It plan, and I can't afford it. Please, let's just do Medicare for All. Canada Plus is a good sounding medical plan. Let's just go with Andrew Yang's idea. Okay. So, but anyway, we spent the next while and a half watching this debate, hearing about how everyone but Andrew Yang would change Medicare and Obamacare. Andrew Yang would, of course, expand on Obamacare, expand on the Canadian provincial Medicare system, providing the encompassing level of Medicare for All that Andrew Yang is proposing. Employers won't be able to restrict health care to only serve their executive and salaried employers, employees, creating part-time armies with no benefits. This will also help people retain health care after their jobs are automated out. Data entry and controlling members of a household hierarchy. Former owner won't be able to forbid health care for less fortunate members like myself or my son, throughout almost my entire lifetime and most of my sons. My friend in Wisconsin who introduced me to the Yang Gang, she's also the one who helped me tape my old prosthesis back together. The what I had for 13 years. My foot literally fell to crumbs in the middle of the store called Fleet Farm, and thankfully I was close enough to the duct tape aisle, but good friends will bail you out of jail, real friends will put your foot back together. So, but that's what happens with your old school healthcare that you have to afford to get. I can't get it, and my son won't be able to get it, and don't do that. Please don't do that again to us. Please don't do that. So, Andrew Yang can and will ensure that the medical neglect that Aaron and I endured doesn't happen anymore. But watching the debate, getting back to that, my brain cells were activated again when the moderators asked Tulsi Gabbard why she refers to Kamala Harris as the personification of the rot. I like her. Oof. Ms. Gabbard started talking about all the Californians that Harris threw into prison while she was smoking pot, laughing about it, and becoming an establishment clone. And not her words, that's my words. Tulsi started getting really good, but I got taken away from the TV because Aaron didn't want his supper and he didn't want to get his jammies on and he was having a preschool moment. So I wish I could have got into where Tulsi was going, because oh boy, but I missed her. And my pause function wasn't working on the live stream, so, but, Kamala Harris reiterated that we need to take on Trump and build on the foundation that Obama built for us. But, Cameron took us away from that badly done distraction ruse, about the personification of the rot, and reminded us that Harris is smearing fellow Democrats and working corruption, using her position to just, I'm not allowed to say what I think of her, Harris. I'm not allowed to say what I think of her on public air. That's not going to work well for me. The Kamala will just further the evil agenda, whereas Tulsi will work independently of the corrupt establishment to fix Washington. I mean, this is just a swing and a home run, you know? I mean, if we get Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard in the White House, and I'm kind of fine with whomever for president and vice, you know, because they'd just be such an amazing team that, you know, that slight difference in rank really wouldn't matter. But they just agree on so much, and they just work together so well, and they're, I hope and I hope and I hope. But, you know, Andrew Yang's personal ethics code closely matches Tulsi Gabbard here and almost everywhere, you know, topic. He's the independent guy who cares and isn't swayed by the lobbyists or other swampers. But, you know, the moderators, perhaps regretting this catfight they'd started, moved on to Steyer, asking him what he'd say to skeptics like myself who referred to him as the buy-in candidate. He bought his ticket. I mean, he came out of nowhere, he bought his ticket. Now all of a sudden he can't get him out of our faces. He's got some wonderful things to say and some wonderful plans to put forth for the climate crisis, but he's just, he bought his ticket. I don't respect that. You know, of course, coming from my background, I'm compelled to not respect that. But anyhow, I scrolled down too far. But, you know, Steyer's response to the buy-in candidate question at least earns me a couple I'll give him a chance points. You know, Steyer said that he's been building coalitions to take down the big oil, tobacco, and Trump's corporations. And he's been knocking on doors. I assume his people have been knocking on doors to give power to the people, and I'd like to find out what he means by all that and what he's actually done and what he's actually accomplished. You know, because that's a big fluffy wordage right there. But it makes me curious to want to look into him. But when he says, you know, bold change can only be brought by new people, which of course is true, because, you know, most of us know that it's the establishment who's caused us the grief that we're in. But Yang, of course, you know, he tried to cut in here, but he wasn't allowed to, nor was he given the chance for his interjectory statement. You know, when you cut in on somebody, they're supposed to give you a chance to respond to a comment, but he, of course, was denied that. So here we are to speak for you, pal. Gotcha. But, anyhow, Klobuchar was called in for this topic, and she said she'd end corruption by having everyone register to vote when they turn 18. And now that sounds great and responsible and everything, except for the whole lack of choice aspect, or how it wouldn't affect whether they actually cast a ballot. But requiring voter registration is also a bit scary. It sounds like what the U.S. did before drafting soldiers for every conflict between World War II and Vietnam. And, you know, for getting your opinion out there in the political world, I, of course, much prefer Andrew Yang's democracy dollars, which is probably what he was trying to mention if the moderators had let Yang speak. Now, I didn't catch what the moderators I spied in here because, you know, I got distracted by Aaron a bit. But he said that he had done more than anyone to bring Americans together, and there's his mantra again. And that as vice president, he's done work most closely related to being the president. Well, of course, vice president is going to be... Remember, though, that it's Andrew Yang who's bringing people together from all different social, financial, and political groups. I mean, you know, if you need a reference point, please see Shinobi's Captain Planet graphic. And for that matter, you know, hippies do more than most anyone to bring people together, you know, working together, thinking together. So, you know... I'm still about Yang Gabbard 2020 or Gabbard Yang 2020, however it turns out, but uh, this is the beginning of the human revolution. We're officially done being squashed by the establishment, and watching Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard with their, peaceable ways of fixing everything is just very enlightening and inspiring. But getting back to subject, the moderators then turned back to Cory Booker, asking him for his opinion on Trump. Of course we're coming back to Trump. We know he has to go. We know everything about him is just disgustingly, terribly wrong. Let's just move forward with who we're going to get to replace him. That's the important part here. We should have been focused on removing Trump when we put him in office to begin with. But anyhow, Cory Booker responded to the moderators with, some pretty decent gold here by saying that Trump has done absolutely terrible things to the U.S. and to our relations with our allies. We need to fix the issues at hand. And as a Rhodes Scholar, Booker brought Newark, New Jersey improvements beyond all expectations. And he could do that as president too. And now my